Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Moni Gambhir. Our cover story tonight is about a major diplomatic win for India. It is a story about how more diplomacy won over Qatar. Now, if you have been watching Gravitas regularly, you would know about the 8 Indian Navy veterans who were put on death row in Qatar early this year. We have been getting you their story. There is huge relief that has now come their way, all because of India's diplomatic efforts. They will now face commuted punishments. The question is, what happens next and how exactly was this made possible? We join the dots for you and get you the bigger picture. Also on the show for you tonight, will Benjamin Netanyahu be forced to step down? We tell you what the numbers are saying at this point and what the sentiment on the ground is looking like. What happened at an almost naked party held in Russia, and why is it at the center of a raging controversy? AI is not just coming for your livelihoods, but also coming for your lives, it seems. We get to the story of killer robots. We also get you the story of a couple that has been living on a cruise ship and made it their permanent home, saying that it's cheaper than living on land. Our cover story tonight is from Qatar. After months of will it, won't it, it has finally provided relief to the 8 Indian Navy veterans who were put on death row early this year. They will now face commuted punishments. Now, we will discuss that in just a bit, but first, let's tell you what led to this turn of events. You see, Qatar's decision is a result of India's overwhelming diplomatic efforts. For months, it has been trying to get the punishment reduced, if not revoked. In fact, earlier this month, the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, met the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the COP28 summit in Dubai. The two leaders apparently discussed the bilateral relationship and the quote-unquote well-being of the Indian community living in Qatar. The meeting happened on the 1st of December. A day after the meeting, the Union Cabinet of India approved the signing of a treaty on the transfer of sentenced persons between India and Qatar. This was aimed at facilitating prisoners to be near their families and also their social rehabilitation. It is the 28th of December today, and Qatar has reduced the death sentences awarded to the Navy veterans. And this makes the decision a major diplomatic win for India and its efforts to safeguard its Navy veterans. So what exactly has Qatar done? Like I said, it has reduced their sentence, but all the details are unclear. The full details are unclear because the judgment has not been released yet. In fact, India has said that it is in close touch with their legal team. Here's what the Ministry of External Affairs said in a statement. We have noted the verdict today of the Court of Appeal of Qatar in the Dahra global case, in which the sentences have been reduced. The detailed judgment is awaited. Our ambassador to Qatar and other officials were present in the Court of Appeal today, along with the family members. We have stood by them since the beginning of the matter, and we will continue to extend all consular and legal assistance. We will also continue to take up the matter with the Qatari authorities. The Ministry of External Affairs also added a caveat. It has said that due to the confidential and sensitive nature of the proceedings, it would not be appropriate to make any further comment at this juncture. Fair enough. But the big question is, why were these Navy veterans jailed in the first place? Well, let me take you through the timeline of the case here. This story begins in 2017. This is when the 8 officers in question were employed by a defense firm in Qatar. The name of this firm is Dehra Global Technologies and Consulting Services. It apparently provides training to Qatar's Navy personnel. The CEO of this company is Hafiz Al-Ajmi. He is a retired Air Force officer from Oman. The 8 officers had been working at Al-Ajmi's firm for over 5 years. Little did they know about the price that they would have to pay for their service. On the midnight of August 30th, 2022, these officers were apparently summoned by Qatar's Interior Ministry. And once there, they were asked to accompany officials for a training program. But ever since that day, the officials never returned home. They were detained and put behind bars. So was their CEO, Hafiz Al-Ajmi. When he went to secure their release, he was briefly detained by the Qatari authorities. But in November, right before the Qatar World Cup, he was released from prison. The officers were not. And then on the 26th of October, the 8 veterans were sentenced to death by a Qatari court. On the 10th of November, India has filed an appeal with Qatar, an appeal to get the death sentence nullified. On the 20th of November, a court of appeal hearing was held. On the 1st of December, Prime Minister Modi met Qatar's emir. On the 3rd of December, the Indian ambassador was able to secure consular access. And on the 7th of December, a Qatari court held another hearing. And today, that is the 28th of December, it has overturned the death sentence. So what happens next? No one knows. More details about the case will emerge in the days ahead. Until then, we cannot speculate what may or may not happen. But Qatar's decision could put its ties with India back on track. You see, of late, these ties have come under stress due to various reasons, the case of these Navy veterans being one of them. However, the two countries still enjoy significant trade ties. Qatar is an important source of oil for India. And on the other hand, 800,000 migrant workers from India constitute a majority of Qatar's expat population. And besides this, there are over 6,000 Indian companies operating in Qatar. They contribute significantly to Qatar's economy. And in 2017, when a host of Arab nations cut off official diplomatic and economic ties with Qatar for supporting Islamist groups, India was one of the first countries to help Qatar. It restructured import lines to circumvent the blockade. And this helped Qatar bounce back after witnessing huge drops in imports. So India has helped Qatar in time of need. Perhaps it's time for Qatar to return the favor. Meanwhile, back in New Delhi, the government of India has made an appeal to Pakistan. An appeal to hand over the 26/11 attacks mastermind, Hafiz Saeed. Yes, earlier today, India made a formal request to Islamabad to send this man to India and face the law. Now, this could possibly be an extradition request. Reports say Indian agencies like the NIA have been behind drafting this request. Remember, the notorious terrorist continues to operate freely in Pakistan. This is despite him being listed on India's NIA most wanted list. In fact, he also has a bounty of $10 million placed on him by the United States and is also listed on the US State Department's list of designated and blocked persons. In fact, his son is preparing to contest the upcoming general elections in Pakistan. I'm talking about Talha Saeed. He's going to run for Pakistan National Assembly's Lahore constituency. The party he is running from, the Pakistan Markazi Muslim League, PMML. This party has emerged from a banned political outfit, the Milli Muslim League, which was also launched by Hafiz Saeed. The point I'm trying to make is simple. Forget punishing this man. Pakistan has provided him the means to thrive. And this is despite UN sanctions on Saeed. As for India, terrorism originating from territories under Pakistani control has always been a pressing issue. Time and again, New Delhi has emphasized the urgent need for Pakistan to take credible, irreversible and verifiable action to curb cross-border terrorism directed against India. India has also called upon Pakistan to expedite the trial of the 2611 attacks case, providing all relevant evidence to facilitate justice. However, despite the sharing of conclusive evidence, there has been minimal progress in the ongoing trial within Pakistan. And now India has asked Pakistan to hand over Saeed. In response to India's request, the Pakistan Foreign Office refused to say much. It only stated that the question is based on speculative reporting. Speculative or not, it's about time that Pakistan either brings Hafiz Saeed to task and ends his nefarious affairs within the country, or sends him to India, where he can be brought to justice. Are Benjamin Netanyahu's days in office numbered? Will he be forced to step down? Are Israelis losing trust in their prime minister? I'm not the one saying that. It's the people of Israel asking these questions. In fact, new opinion polls are in, and Netanyahu's popularity seems to be in free fall. Let me just show you some numbers here. Only 31% of Israelis believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu is suitable for his position. 51% saying that Benny Gantz is more suitable for the job. More than half of the polled Israelis favor Gantz over Netanyahu. And it's not just him. His Likud party has also suffered a sharp blow. Now, if the elections were held today, the Likud party would only win 17 seats in the 120-seat parliament. Gantz's National Unity Party, on the other hand, would bag over twice that number. It would win 39 seats, to be specific. In fact, the Likud party would not be able to win a majority, even with all its allies combined. According to the opinion poll, Likud Shas, United Torah Judaism, Otzma Yehudit and Religious Zionists together would only win 43 seats. And it's a far cry from their current majority of 64 seats. How exactly did things come down to this? How did Netanyahu fall this much in his people's eyes? From what the polls are showing, Israelis want to win the war against Hamas. A good 66% of them believe that the IDF can destroy Hamas. The Prime Minister has vowed to keep the war going until the group is wiped off. And yet, Israelis have lost faith in Netanyahu's leadership. More than 69% of them want an election as soon as the war is over. And why is that? Look at these pictures released by the Prime Minister's office. Here you can see Bibi posing beside an armored fighting vehicle. In this one, he stands surrounded by soldiers half his age. From what it appears, each of these pictures is trying to project a certain image of Netanyahu. One as a wartime leader, another as a father figure. But the polls have revealed that a majority of Israelis see him as neither of the two. As for a wartime leader, there are pointed questions around Netanyahu's role. Whenever it has come to big decisions, the Prime Minister sat on the fence for weeks. From launching the ground offensive to accepting a hostage release deal and a week-long truce, he has delayed and dithered. Just how feasible is that in a war? And what about the daily decisions? Reports say it's not Netanyahu who is pulling the strings, but 3 ex-generals in his war cabinet. Yoav Gallant, Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot, a senior official, has made these claims. As for his role as a father figure, need I remind you how he has been heckled, he has been booed. Earlier in the week, as Netanyahu addressed the parliament, when he said that he needed, quote-unquote, more time to bring the hostages home, the families chanted, "Now, now." One relative called out, "We don't have time." Some held up signs asking, what if it were your father, daughter or brother? All Netanyahu could offer was reassurances. Despite launching a number of rescue operations, only one hostage has been freed by Israeli troops. Pressure from the families has been growing. When the war broke out, Israel decided on a strategy of fighting a ferocious war, while also carrying out negotiations with Hamas. But the thing is, doing both has proven to be extremely difficult. Over a dozen more hostages have been declared dead. 3 of them were killed by Israeli soldiers who confused them as Hamas spotters. Even their white flag could not save their lives. Casualties have hit a new high. More than 20,000 Palestinians have been killed. Global pressure for a ceasefire has been mounting. But Netanyahu seems to have different plans. During his visit to the front lines earlier in the week, he said, and I'm quoting, "We are not stopping. The war will continue until the end, until we finish it, no less." He just wants the war to keep going, because he does not know what would happen when it ends. So much chest thumping for a war, but nothing for the aftermath. Let me just read out what a longtime ally of Netanyahu had to say. Netanyahu may receive good marks for the conduct of the war, but on the day after, most of the public wants to see a new, young, determined, and above all, groundbreaking leadership. You see, Netanyahu is in a bind, to say the least. His political ratings are plummeting. Large chunks of his nationalist base already abandoned him. In the polls, at least, Israelis are looking for a change as far as the leadership is concerned. What happens when the storm settles down? Will Netanyahu be able to stay on in power? On the Russian front lines, soldiers are fighting a war, but what's going on in the heart of the country, in the capital, Moscow? A raunchy, celebrity-studded party. It was a dress-up ball, but in reality there were no dresses at all. The theme of the party was almost naked. It was the 20th of December. Instagram influencer Anastasia Ivleva organized a gala at a famous nightclub. Several household celebrity names were invited. The night was young. Barely dressed stars started showing up. They wore flesh-colored mesh, lace and lingerie. One rapper attended in nothing but a sock. Nikolai Vasilyev wore a Balenciaga sock on his genitalia. It appeared to be a tribute to the 1987 Red Hot Chili Peppers album cover, indulged in their extravagance. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. But soon, videos and pictures of this party started going viral. They spread across Russian social media like wildfire. And it did not take long for them to reach a rather unimpressed President Vladimir Putin. And the next thing we know, pro-war commentators and nationalists were infuriated. In a Telegram post, television presenter Vladimir Solovyov said, and I'm quoting, "There is a war going on in the country, but these beasts, scum, are organizing all this, these brutes who don't care about what's going on," quote unquote. Putin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov asked the reporters to forgive him for not publicly commenting on the scandal. He said, and I'm quoting, "Let you and I be the only ones in the country who are not discussing this topic." 2 days after the party, rapper Vasilyev was summoned to the court, courtesy his sock outfit. He was sentenced to 15 days in prison. What was his crime? Spreading gay propaganda. Vasilyev was later seen in a video claiming that he does not support the LGBTQ plus community in any way. If anything, he condemns supporters of the movement. Vasilyev is not the only one, by the way, who is facing fire. The party's organizer, Ivleva, is also facing time in jail. Authorities have launched a tax evasion probe against the influencer. More than 20 people have signed a class action lawsuit against her. They are demanding for her to pay $11 million to a pro-war charity. In fact, many of the celebrities have had their concerts cancelled. Sponsors have torn up their contracts. For some, TV airtime has been axed. And in at least one case, an actor has been cut out of a new film. It seems to be Russia's biggest cancelling spree since the start of the war. You see, the timing of this party could not have been worse. In the early months of the war, Russian authorities were keen to promote a sense of normalcy. For a while, Moscow emphasized that the war would not affect people's daily lives. Many Russians embraced escapism. They chose not to think of the war in Ukraine, of the battlegrounds, of the dying soldiers. They have had the privilege to do that. But you see, things have changed now. Now the authorities are pushing for conservatism. The Kremlin is trying to promote traditional values. President Putin has introduced a series of such laws. In fact, these laws are aimed at promoting nationalism. Celebrities have realized that they have messed up at a critical time. And to save face, many have started issuing public apologies. From robot assaults to fatal car malfunctions, Tesla seems to be getting some bad press. Lives seem to be at risk, but top boss Elon Musk remains unapologetic and his wealth continues to soar. Our next report getting you all the details.
This factory, a malfunctioning robot attacked an engineer. It happened in 2021, but Tesla buried the incident. What really happened? A robot meant to handle car parts pinned an unsuspecting engineer. The engineer suffered serious back and arm injuries. 2 other employees watched the horror unfold. But when the incident was reported to the cops, Tesla watered down the whole attack. Just like it has been playing down accidents involving Tesla cars. A recent report reveals Tesla's neglect towards customer safety. This stems from knowingly using defective car parts. Tesla kept track of vehicle design flaws, yet it often made customers pay for repairs. Many owners reported steering and suspension problems. A notable case involved a new 2023 Tesla Model Y. Its suspension failed during a turn. The driver had just bought the car. Tesla refused to cover repair costs, claiming prior damage. The problems extend to Tesla Autopilot feature too. Earlier this year, the Washington Post revealed that the number of deaths and serious injuries associated with the autopilot has significantly grown. The most recent data reveals 17 fatal accidents, 11 of them since May 2022. There have also been 5 severe injuries. According to the Post, Tesla's 17 fatal crashes highlight distinct patterns. 4 cases involved a motorcycle, another involved an emergency vehicle. Some of Musk's decisions are also to blame. According to experts, Musk stripped the vehicles of radar sensors, widely increased the availability of certain features. All this appears to have contributed to the increase in accidents. When Musk addressed the robot attack, he labeled the media coverage as shameful, adding the incident involved a standard industrial robot arm. In other words, the robot functioned as programmed, and the engineer might have misjudged the situation. Victim blaming? We think so. What about workplace safety? Tesla's Austin factory had only annual inspections in 2021 and 2022. Nearly 1 in 21 workers suffered injuries there. This injury rate exceeds the industry median. Does Musk have anything to say about this number?
America has a unique problem. It is struggling to recruit spies in China. The CIA is trying hard to rebuild its espionage capabilities in Beijing. And for that, it is retraining personnel. It is redirecting billions in budgets and rebuffing expensive spy machinery. But you see, gaps still remain. And they have left the US clueless about what's happening in China. You see, the US has a very limited understanding of what actually goes on among the Chinese leader Xi Jinping and his inner circle, and this includes key security issues like Taiwan and other topics. I'm not the one who's saying that. US officials are. Have a look at this WSJ report. It mentions accounts from US intelligence officers. It quotes a former senior intelligence official saying, "We have no real insight into leadership plans and intentions in China at all." The Biden administration has named China as the greatest danger to American security, and it remains at the top of the CIA's to-do list. Over the last 3 years, the budget resources for Chinese spy missions have been more than doubled. US spy satellites closely monitor China's military deployments. Cyber and eavesdropping tools scoop up Chinese communications. The vast majority of US intelligence on China now comes from electronic snooping, be it intercepting phone calls, emails, or other form of digital communication, because recruiting or even meeting Chinese agents has become more difficult than ever, all thanks to Beijing's surveillance system. A decade ago, the CIA recruited dozens of Communist Party officials as paid agents. How so? By leveraging corruption in the higher ranks of the party. But Beijing's spy catchers all but blinded the US in China. The CIA's network was obliterated. China busted the Chinese agents working for America. As many as 24 spies were executed or imprisoned, and among them were high-ranking Chinese officials. The US government never publicly acknowledged the losses between 2010 and 2012. But since then, the CIA has been struggling to recover. China is a much tougher intelligence target than it was a decade ago. Like I already told you, Xi Jinping employs surveillance systems. Conducting spy operations inside the country is no easy task, but the US is trying hard. After 2020, the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and other US spy agencies decided to cut spending on counterterrorism and to focus on spy programs in China instead. Reports say the CIA director, William J. Burns, now holds a weekly meeting especially devoted to China. Soon after becoming the director, he established a mission center for China. CIA operators, intelligence analysts, technology experts, and other specialists would come together to work on a single target. The WSJ article has spilled all these details. Chinese media was quick to respond to it. It has said that it is shameful that the US is talking about espionage so openly. You see, from what the US officials have revealed in that report, it appears that China's counter-espionage work is highly effective, that it was not only able to dismantle American spy network in China, but also prevent it from rebuilding for a decade. Now China has pointed out that when it revised its counter-espionage law, it faced heavy criticism from the West. So what was the real intention behind that criticism? What does the US have to say to that? It is the 28th of December. In 3 days from now, we will be entering a new year. And as is the norm, with every new year, we make new resolutions, life decisions, even switch to new careers. But if you are watching us from India and looking to switch careers in 2024, our advice is hold that thought. According to a new report, 2024 holds a bleak future for India's job seekers, especially in the tech sector. And why is that? Because the biggest tech companies may soon pause hiring in India. We're talking about tech giants like Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple. They have reportedly slowed their recruitment processes with a possibility of putting a permanent pause on hiring in a few months. What explains their decision? According to reports, they are hitting the brakes on hiring due to the global economic slowdown. Their revenues are falling. Their projects have slowed down. Most of these companies have had to resort to restructuring measures. A cautious approach to hiring is one such measure. Let me just show you some data here. According to an analysis, active demand for major tech companies plummeted by 78% this year. This fall reduced the demand to a 1.5-year low. And as a result, this brought the total number of active listed openings globally to an abysmal low of just 30,000. That's the number of active openings across big tech players globally. And if I speak of India, these companies have as few as 200 open positions. 200. This represents a 98% decrease from their typical hiring levels. This is what the firm behind these figures had to say. The low to no hiring action maintained by the cohort over the year will continue to impact the tech talent movements, especially in the experienced lateral layer. Maintaining the status quo requires replacement hiring action with no significant net talent additions recorded. And by the way, it's not just the global tech giants. Even companies in India are reducing their workforce, especially in the fintech sector. Just take the case of Paytm. According to reports, Paytm has apparently downsized its staff by over 1,000 individuals. And this decision has impacted approximately 10% of its workforce, spanning departments like operations, marketing, lending. So what is the primary rationale behind these layoffs? The same as others, cost-cutting measures. You say Paytm has also encountered financial difficulties in recent months. Moreover, the company's lending division is reeling under the effects of recent regulatory adjustments. And then we have Nike, one of the most popular athleisure brands in the world. It has also decided to cut hundreds of jobs because the company is planning to increase the automation of certain services and streamlining the organization. The decision has been taken due to poor sales. But not everything looks bad. According to the report, demand for frontline workers in other sectors will remain strong, and this demand will majorly be fueled by logistics and mobility industries. They will apparently contribute more than 50% of the overall requirement. This could lead to the creation of at least 3.9 million new jobs. So at the end of the day, it's not all doom and gloom. Job seekers in some sectors may find it tough looking for new roles, but other sectors may suffice for the lack of jobs. And time now for our special segment, Gravitas Snapshot, where we look at the story of Mrinank Singh. He is a 25-year-old from Faridabad who once wanted to be a famous cricketer. He started playing cricket for Haryana's under-19 team and showed real talent early on. Mrinank did well in school as well. He finished a commerce degree at Delhi University's Hindu College, and he did not stop there. He also got an MBA in human resources. Mrinank grew up in Faridabad, which is known for bringing up good sports people, but his life took a very different turn. Instead of becoming a famous cricketer, he got mixed up in some bad stuff. Delhi police saying that he became obsessed with expensive things. His love for fancy stuff, in fact, led him to cheat and lie. That's how the story of Mrinank Singh ended. The cricketer, that's how his story ended. And then the story of Mrinank Singh, the alleged con man, started. He even managed to dupe famous cricketer Rishabh Pant. This happened back in 2021 when Mrinank Singh allegedly cheated Pant for over $192,000. How exactly did he manage doing that? Well, Mrinank had managed to convince Rishabh Pant of about a great deal. He said that it could get him expensive watches at reasonable rates. And Pant trusted him. He handed over some jewelry and other luxury items to Mrinank, who said that he would sell these for high prices. However, the check that Pant received in return for the expensive items bounced. Pant did not lodge an FIR, and Mrinank continued with his scams. 5-star hotels were among his targets. At the Taj Palace in Delhi, he posed as an IPL player. After a bout of lavish spending for a week, he left the hotel saying that his sponsor would float the bill. The bank account and card details he provided turned out to be fake. That is when the hotel staff realized that they had been cheated of over $6,700. A complaint was lodged. Yet Mrinank Singh somehow continued to evade being captured. In fact, in his bid to escape, he also left a trail of debt and deception behind him. His streak of lies and deception finally unraveled when he tried to flee to Hong Kong. Mrinank was detained by the immigration officials at the Indira Gandhi International Airport. He resorted to trickery, claiming to be Karnataka's ADGP Alok Kumar's son. As a part of his past cons, he had impersonated the Karnataka ADGP Alok Kumar himself. Mrinank even pretended to call senior police officers to get out of that mess. However, the officials were not convinced. This led to his immediate detention. The police discovered evidence linking Mrinank to multiple victims on his phone. Mrinank Singh's arrest at the airport was just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. Investigators dug deeper and uncovered a pattern. There were consistent deceptions and frauds. These went beyond just the high-profile cases. As it turns out, Mrinank had already been arrested earlier. That was for allegedly cheating a businessman in Jalandhar for over $6,900. Despite securing bail in that case, he continued his fraudulent activities. His fraudulent acts were not limited to high-end establishments. His victims included bars, restaurants, even small eating outlets. Delhi Police's investigation also revealed another disturbing fact. His phone contained multiple compromising videos and photographs of young female models. Singh proved to be a master of evasion. He often changed his locations. He also used only social media apps for communication. He even deceived his acquaintances into believing that he was not in India but settled in Dubai. Delhi police is also scrutinizing his claims of a cricket career. Singh claims that he played in the 2021 Ranji Trophy and for the Mumbai Indians in the IPL from 2014 to 2018. The police are now cross-checking the claims that he has been making. After all, his claims of being a former cricketer were key to getting him the confidence of his victims, including Rishabh Pant's. Mrinank's family has disowned him. The investigation is now continuing. How long do you want to live for? Would you want to know the secret recipe for a long life? Well, who better to take down notes from than someone who has lived for 100 years? Basically, someone who has cracked the code to a long life. And what if you can get advice from 5 such people, all from the same family? Meet the Tutte siblings. They are all around 100 years old. In fact, they hold a world record. They have the highest combined age of 5 siblings. You know what the total is? 496 years. Now, the thing is, the French are famous for living long. In fact, the world's longest lived person was Jean Calment, having lived for 122 years. The French lifestyle clearly has its pros. And it's a very interesting paradox, by the way. The French love their fast food, for example, but have one of the lowest obesity rates in Europe. In fact, just for some perspective here, the number of centenarians in France is double that of Britain. But even then, this set of siblings stands out because it's extraordinary for so many members of one family to live so long. So what is it that these siblings have done right? What would they like to tell the world about living a long life? First, let me tell you about the siblings. We are talking about 4 sisters and a brother. The eldest one is 103. The youngest sibling is 96 years old. Now, wine and cheese, we all know, are French favorites. They are also perceived to be the secret to longevity. Cheese, for example, contains calcium. It also contains protein. And there are studies that suggest that it could be associated with a lower risk of some health problems. Meanwhile, red wine has a high quantity of an antioxidant called resveratrol. It is believed that it could be beneficial for the heart. And we all know how much the French loved their red wine. But to what extent did these siblings actually drink it? Well, they might just be living proof that having a lot of red wine and cheese might not mean that you live longer. That's right. As far as red wine and cheese are concerned, these siblings did not overindulge. So if you thought wine and cheese could be your best friends who will ensure that you live for long, hold that thought. And again, it's all about moderation, of course. Not overindulging in anything might be a good route to follow. After all, we've all heard of how excess of anything is bad. And our next story is about a couple. No ordinary couple, by the way. This is an extraordinary story. This couple decided to sell their house, business, most of their belongings to live a dream. A dream of sailing around the world on a cruise ship. You heard that right. And this, they say, is cheaper than living on land. Let me just break it down for you. John and Melody Hennessy from Florida decided to begin this journey in the year 2020. However, initially the couple bought a motorhome to travel across the US, but John Hennessy got tired of driving, and soon after the couple came across a Facebook advertisement that said a Royal Caribbean cruise is set to travel across the world for 274 days. And the next thing you know, their bags were packed and they were ready to go. The only bills they worry about now are telephone, shipping, a few credit card bills. As life on sea has crossed their mortgage bills off the expense list, and they are certain that cruising is cheaper, while adding that it is close to half of what they were spending when they lived on land. So far, they have traveled to Australia, New Zealand, several other parts of South Pacific. The Hennessys are fully booked with trips until December 2024, and soon they will be boarding another residential cruise ship. The couple has already bought a cabin on the vessel. At least 30% passengers of this ship are going to be permanent residents. The cabins cost at least $99,000. But if someone prefers an ocean view, the cruise is ready to provide that in a balcony villa at $249,000. The Hennessys plan to spend the next 15 years of their lives on the cruise ship. The ship is expected to circumnavigate the world every 3 years, which is mostly going to be chasing the sun to follow the warm weather. However, the Florida couple are not the only ones on this exciting journey. Another couple from Seattle this time ditched their old jobs for a new start on the sea. They claim the move is saving them thousands of dollars. What do you think about these stories? Would you do the same? Write to us and let us know. In the year 2023, the global economic landscape has seen significant shifts, mirrored by the performance of various currencies. Our next report putting the spotlight on the top and the worst performing currencies and decoding what is in store for their economies going forward.
2023 is the year when economies over the world grabbed headlines for stubbornly high inflation, wars, and slide in currencies. Yet, as we approach the end of the year, some of these economies and currencies have staged a remarkable recovery that put the spotlight on the changing fortunes of modern economies. Among the top performers, the British pound stands out, showcasing a stellar year. For British travellers, the exchange rate has improved against the US dollar, providing more value for every pound spent abroad. The positive trend extends to the euro, where the pound has strengthened. The pound's robust performance is not only just good news for holidaymakers, it also has implications for the broader economy in the UK. The strengthened pound helps mitigate inflationary pressures by reducing the cost of goods and services imported from overseas. This resilience is attributed in part to UK's relatively strong economy compared to the Eurozone, where countries like Germany face economic challenges. On the other side of the spectrum, the Japanese yen and the Norwegian krona have experienced significant declines against the US dollar. Japan's central bank's decision to keep interest rates in negative territory has contributed to the yen's fall. Meanwhile, Norway, a major oil producer, faced challenges with falling energy prices impacting exports and leading to a decline in the krona. Turning to notable global winners, Afghanistan's Afghani has made a remarkable recovery, gaining more than 28% against the US dollar. Despite economic challenges following the Taliban's return to power, aid flows and a ban on foreign currencies have supported the Afghani. Colombia's peso has seen a nearly 22% rise, fueled by high interest rates and positive economic factors. Argentina's peso, perennially facing economic challenges, experienced a significant devaluation, reaching more than 3/4 loss by December. The country's president proposed adopting the US dollar to stabilize the economy. At the bottom of the list is Lebanon's lira, facing a tragic economic situation with political turmoil, default on international debt, and a 90% devaluation in February. In decoding these currency movements, it's evident that economic factors, including interest rates, economic resilience, and global market dynamics, play pivotal roles in shaping the fortunes of currencies worldwide. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off, leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
WION, India's global voice.
Israel woke up to a barrage of thousands of rockets fired from the Gaza Strip.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Hostilities have broken out between Israel and Palestine, and the tensions that had been gathering steam over the course of the last several weeks and months
siren has gone off. I don't know if you can hear in the background what's going on. I'm going into the shelter now. So it's a very, very serious situation here across